of the Undaunted Team of Teams podcast. Highly anticipated. I hope it's going okay, and you guys can hear Gucci in the background. He's really worked really hard trying to come up the stairs. So anyway, I am Sarah. I am a first lieutenant in the Air Force. And next to me, giggling, I have none other than our VIP, retired Lieutenant Colonel Ernesto, Nacho Nisperos.
Hi, y'all. I'm Nacho. I am retired. Thanks, Sarah. Sorry about Gucci. He's 14. Y'all.
Yeah. You know what? It's important to have our dogs here with us.
Yeah, he calms me down.
Yes. So, go ahead with why we are here. Tell us about, what even is this Undaunted Team of Teams, UT2?
So, there I was.
Right? Where were you?
So, we were talking to friends who were at the airport in Afghanistan during the fall of Kabul. And we were talking about how to get an interpreter through the fence. And, fast forward like 6 calls later, we got that interpreter into the airport. In the process of getting that done, we found probably 20 other people that needed that sort of assistance, and we helped them as well. So that day, I met 10 new friends, right? So we started working on this crazy project of getting more interpreters and more Afghans through the fence. And you've heard the stories and you've seen the TV shows and the movies that have been out and other podcasts. And that was the day we started Aces and Eights. And if fast forward again, 2 years later, what we found was once the money dried up for getting Afghans visas and getting them airplane tickets and getting them food, which we can talk about in another episode, we realized that the volunteers that we had were going through what we call, what is called moral injury, and they were feeling the guilt, they were feeling the shame, they were feeling the emptiness of not being able to help their Afghans, as they called it. And that's when we realized that our volunteers had gone through so much and we needed to kind of pause what we were doing for complete strangers and start helping our own. And when we did the research for this, we found that that moral injury was being misdiagnosed in a lot of cases as PTSD. And if you looked, as we say, right to the left of that, it's the shame, the guilt, the anxiety, the fear. But it wasn't always attached to a traumatic event, which is the requirement for PTSD. Yeah. So you're like, okay, I'm not a clinical psychologist. I'm not even a licensed coach. Right? I've been to a couple leadership courses in the Air Force. So,
relatable.
Yeah, I got those certificates and they're in the closet somewhere. But I'm not a certified counselor. So I reached out. We have a lot of certified counselors. We have psychologists. We have psychiatrists, all volunteers. And they all said the same thing. The best therapy for moral injury is peer leadership. Yeah. Peer coaching, a peer group. And, at work, it's called psychological safety, right? But how do you get that in a social setting? So we decided that we were going to build a network of peers, whether they're coaches or SMEs or not. That was going to be up to the member and up to the volunteer. We're going to take whatever folks want to give to UT2, Undaunted Team of Teams. And we wanted to get left of the problem of fear, anxiety, and shame. And if you can tackle those 3 problems, then you have a better chance of not falling into the hole that moral injury drops you in, and you get stuck in there, and it can lead to some the same things that PTSD can lead to. Yeah. So when we're talking about the worst part of the veteran problem is suicide, we're left of that. We are working on building the networks that will create in the Air Force wingmen ranger buddies, and being able to have that go-to team to reach out for anything.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're working on a project for school, there's mentors for math, science, English, college courses, whatever. If you're trying to be a coach, or you are a coach for baseball, little league, whatever, like that, we're building friendships and networks that way. But then there's the professional side, and then there's like the dead serious side where like literally it's life and death.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're thriving, is the phone calls that we get in the middle of the night from a veteran or from a volunteer that just says, I don't know what else to do. This has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And what we just do is we connect these folks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're plugged in. It's that simple.
Yeah. Wow.
But we don't do triage. We call an expert for that. We use 988. We use the veteran numbers for that everyone has access to for suicide prevention, suicide ideation. So that is a goal, is to stop suicide and get rid of stigmas. But we are more of building that team that folks can have. So when and if something bad happens, they have a crew to work with on whatever problem that is.
Yeah. I think that's really cool. Whenever you had reached out to me about it, or, gosh, I'm trying to remember, like, I think I've been a member of your group before, whenever it was called Heart of a Veteran Project. And then now it's called the UT2, the Undaunted Team of Teams. I was really excited about it, about everything that you've really established, and really just wanting to be there for people, no matter, if it's your neighbor, if it's people you work with, people you don't really know, or if it's somebody, like you said, in a more dire situation. Really, really cool concept here, especially being able to go to your peers, because sometimes, you feel like your peers are the ones that judge you the most, right? So you want to make sure that you establish those groups of people, those groups of like-minded people that are there for any sort of need that you might have. So really, really cool concept, So, with that, we should also probably tell the people who maybe don't know you as well what else you've done. So tell us a little bit about, what your career's been like, where you came from,
Yeah.
Married with kids.
Yep. Yeah, definitely married with kids.
Yes.
I have a beautiful wife of, it's going to be 25 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
We can't agree on a 25th anniversary vacation yet, but we will.
Well, you can't go to Disney because y'all go to Disney every other week.
I mean,
happiest place in the world.
It's another episode.
Oh, yes. We will have a Disney episode.
Disney's my happy place.
From Disney.
Yeah, so my oldest is 25. My youngest is about to be 17. My middle child is 23. And 2 girls and a boy, in that order. And then I have a fur baby, Gucci. He's 14. And I think he's a mutt. I got him as a rescue, but they said he was a Yorkie, but he's like 28 pounds.
I would say he's kind of big for your traditional Yorkie.
But he's a Yorkie at heart.
Yes.
I tried college. I went to East Carolina University. I joined, and you'll predict this ending here real fast. I joined a fraternity. And I became a pledge marshal. And then I just forgot to go to school. So
also relatable.
Yeah. So I enlisted. So I did that for 8 years.
As one does.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I did that for 8 years. I built bombs as an ammo troop, which.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Ammo.
That's right. Whoop. So I know if you ain't ammo, you ain't shit. Is our motto. But yeah, so I deployed a few times as an ammo troop in TDY. I don't know how many times.
Yes.
And I decided that getting my degree would at least be the right move professionally.
Quote unquote right.
Yeah, I started to get a little disenchanted with my service, and I was like, well, what if I was an officer? Did that make it any different? So I had a great boss, great leader, who is now a 3-star, Lieutenant General Iverson, but he was a lieutenant colonel then, and he was my boss. And he said, "Well, I mean, you have the degree. Why don't you apply for OTS?"
Yeah.
And I applied before I even finished my degree, because back then you could do that. I don't know if you could still do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I applied like a year out.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, yeah, I got a spot.
They were like, "We want him.
We want him. We'll take him." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be a pilot. It's gonna be awesome." And then he said, "Well, you got ABM." And I was like, "What's an ABM?" You know?
Everybody's reaction when we get picked up is 13 Bravos.
Yeah. And so he's like, "You know what an AWACS is and the J-stars?" And I was like, "I know what an AWACS is." And then he just started talking to me about how he was Strike Eagle pilot and a weapons officer and a test. Weapons officer. We'll just go there. And he was like, "Yeah,
Yes.
he did some squirrely things, but he basically said, dude, it's gonna be great. Like, don't pull your application and try for pilot again. Just like do what's right for the family first, and if you don't like it, like you can go to UFT and try to go pilot from there. But it's better to just get this and go and figure it out on the way because your family deserves it." Because Aiden was 7 months old.
Oh, baby Aiden.
Yeah. So, got my commission. I flew on J-stars for 12 years total.
Sheesh.
Yeah. And when I wasn't flying, I was deployed as a liaison or a map planner in the AOC or on the ground in Afghanistan doing some liaison stuff for J-stars mostly, but also for other units.
Sure. Yeah.
And then 12 deployments if Nicole counts them.
Okay. With J-stars.
No, total.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
total. J-stars was 9.
That's still a lot.
Yeah, 3 short tours. 3 short tours in a year at school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So without the family.
And what school did you go to?
Oh yeah, right. So I ended up with more degrees. I got my master's. The first one I got from American Military University.
Uh-huh.
So I love that school. It was great. While going through it, and if AMU folks are hearing this,
they're out there.
While I was going through it, I was like, "You guys are overcompensating so much." I'm like in a combat zone doing online class, and the instructor's like part-time in it from like Penn. And I had another dude who worked in Spain at like the University of Madrid, and I'm like, okay. This is finance, right? Like so anyway, it was great. I'm glad they overcompensated because it was a great degree.
Yeah.
It says MBA.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that I didn't take that last advanced finance class.
Oh no.
So thanks AMU for the MBA, but I'm pretty sure I didn't finish the MBA, but I do have masters from that.
Yeah. Fast forward to Nacho getting a phone call from AMU after this is posted.
Yeah.
We want your degree back.
No, I think you guys passed me because I did turn it in. I just don't remember.
You can trust him.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. It's a long story. It's a deployed thing.
Another episode.
Yet
another episode.
Did that actually send? I'm not sure. Whatever. I gotta go. Yeah, and then I got my second master's from Air University. I went to the Joint All-Domain Strategy course.
Yeah.
And I learned how to plan a campaign and think like a red team, think as a Chinese PLA officer for a little bit. Yeah, it did some cool stuff. So I have one of those.
Yeah.
Not many folks have those, I hear. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. That's weird.
I mean, that's a long version of I was in the Air Force for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. A total of how many years?
24.
24 years
24
in
days.
the Air Force.
24 days.
24 days. You did all this in 24 days.
24
9
years,
deployments, 24
6 days.
Oh, but who's counting, right? It's fine.
No.
Yeah. And here I am with my measly 3 years.
It's not measly. At 3 years, I don't know what I was doing. 3 years. I got
3 years
deployed
in.
like 4 times already.
Jeez. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Brandon, my husband, is ammo, which,
Huh?
shout out, shout out to the ammo guys. And he will hit 13 years. He is currently a tech sergeant, and yeah, he's been deployed twice so far. So in 13 years, we've been pretty lucky that I've been able to keep him here, keep him attached to me. In fact, I'm the one that's always gone these days, especially. And that's the thing. I haven't talked about myself again. Lieutenant Sarah Harm Riffe, currently in ABM. I know it's not my Tyndall call sign. Thank you. It is the upgraded one, but currently 13 Bravos on ABM here at Robbins in Georgia, and I was slated for the J Stars, but I was one of the lucky 20 that got pulled from training.
You're welcome.
Yes, Nacho was there for that. So there's about 20 of us or so that got pulled from the L3's education, the ground school, basically, from J Stars. So we didn't get a chance to fly. I got to fly on the Finney flight for the CTS, but and then sat in a year at scheduling, for a year in scheduling at the CTS, meeting all kinds of people and doing all kinds of things while we were trying to divest the aircraft. And I've gone to Joint Fires course that year, and then this year I finished IQT for ground-based, not quite CRC. We were doing the Talk F thing, and now we're BCC is what we're calling ourselves. So we're going to see how that continues to develop, because there's so many changes. I'm now part of the 728th BMCS, the Battle Management Control Squadron, that's been recently stood up within the last year. And we're the demons. So,
Nice.
give them hell.
Give them hell.
Yeah, and already this year I've been to Kirtland for Virtual Flag. I was at Hickam for Keen Edge for a couple of weeks. I just got back from JOC 2C 2 weeks ago, 2-ish weeks ago. It's basically like the extended version of Joint Fires. Mm-hmm. So going back to Hickam for Valiant Shield in June, and then a quote-unquote deployment to good old Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina in October.
You need combat pay for Sumter.
Yes, agreed. I'm glad somebody agrees with me. So
Sorry, Sumter.
They know. They're not under any guise. But yeah, and supposedly there's a red flag in there too. So between now and then, there's a lot coming up in the old Riffe household, and not to mention Brandon also trying to commission. So waiting on those guard results to come out. Well, for the next board, for the new stuff, the new.
The new.
I know
a little bit about that.
Yeah. So but yeah, so that's the background on us, and we've got a lot of cool stuff I think coming up with Undaunted Team of Teams. So what kind of stuff do you want the people to expect from us here on the podcast, in podcast land?
So I haven't talked about what I'm doing now, because that's going to play a part. Ooh. So I currently work for Hypergiant Galactic, and so they are right now I'm doing front-end software product ownership. So I'm a product owner for the Tactical Operations Center Light and TOC-L, and specifically the cloud-based command and control UI.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I kind of own that product right now. And why that matters is because, we're an AI enabling company.
Mm-hmm.
So in my NGO life, right, in my ACEs and 8s and UT2 life, I have a lot of friends who have started exploring with generative AI. And, since I knew a little bit enough to be dangerous, we had some cool conversations, and I became part of a beta test team for Boodle AI.
Okay.
And this program called Boodlebox. And so some great veterans, France Huang, who I met during during literally some humanitarian missions in Afghanistan, was like, hey man, I want you to be one of my beta testers because we made this for NGOs to help their teams, and it's a built-in. It's hard to explain succinctly, but I'll try. Essentially, the generative AI is built in with 900 plus bots.
Jeez.
Yeah. Okay. So with those 900 plus bots, you have full access to all of them as a member of Boodlebox, and you can basically grab a coach.
Okay.
Or grab a expert, or grab somebody to write a sample, somebody to read a sample, like 900 versions of this.
Jeez.
And you can ask for help, and it helps you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if it doesn't understand what you're saying, it interviews you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's all text, it's not voice.
Yeah.
And you type in what you want to say and what you want it to know, and then it knows it, and you've just taught it, right? And now it helps you.
Yeah.
So, but that's cool enough, right? And they had me hooked already.
Yeah.
So, but what we're going to do at UT2 that this podcast is going to be part of is I have a certain number of licenses that a donor gave us money for, which is great.
Yeah.
So the coaches and the SMEs that signed up early on to
mm-hmm.
UT2 are going to have a Boodlebox membership.
Wow.
And what we can do now is that they have this new thing with collaborative chat on top of the 900 bots.
Uh-huh.
So, like, I'm in a chat. Let's say we want to plan, like, episode 25, right? Because we have 24 planned already, right?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. So, and we're like, hey, here's episode 25 ideas, Sarah. Sorry, the bot, right? The bot can be called whatever, right? Perry the platypus.
I'm also a bot, yes.
Yeah. So, okay, and I type all this in, and it says, here's some ideas based on what you've already done, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I literally click a link,
mm-hmm.
and I send it to you,
mm-hmm.
and then you join that chat with the bots.
Oh.
So it's you, me, and 900 bots.
Oh, my gosh. That's kind of cool.
And it knows what you're saying, and it understands what you want because you just told it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it still remembers what I just taught it.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we're collaborating with this, like, super expert.
Wow.
And you can do this with as many team members as you want right now.
Yeah.
I hope they don't limit that, but eventually you're going to probably have to because you don't want 100 people in a chat.
Right, yeah.
So,
I barely want 5 people in a chat, let alone
yeah, so
100.
I think that's a game changer in
a
lot of ways because, okay, again, I'm not a psychologist, right? I don't want to be a psychologist, but there's experts for that.
Mm-hmm.
But what if I just need to get this person to understand how much they mean to me?
Right.
What are the right words I want to use? And that's more of an extreme case. What if you're in a team meeting at work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that this person's having trouble at home and they're just having trouble coping with the military.
Yeah.
Right? You can literally be on the phone with them
mm-hmm.
and you can be in Boodlebox, right? And punching in the scenario.
Yeah.
Keeping it private, right?
Sure.
No names and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, here's what I think we can do. Boom, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
And then so basically it's like we are at a point where you can trust the data.
Mm-hmm.
And we are at a point where there's no reason to not use the technology that's out there
mm-hmm.
to help each other, right? So
mm-hmm.
when we're thinking about UT2 and building this network, now Boodlebox is part of that network, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really looking forward to getting those licenses out to those coaches and then start getting those stories about how these folks are using it to help others, right?
Yeah.
So that we can essentially start a new way to help each other, to build new peer networks. Because we're like, I don't know if you're like me, who's like a nerd with AI and want to know more, and I'm always drawing stuff on like Dolly and and those kind of programs and Boodlebox.
Yeah.
And,
I'm not quite like that, but I do like to ask the same question in a bunch of different ways to see what kind of different answers I can get.
Yeah, I think that at least for my generation, it was like, oh, we have AI and ChatGPT, and and now we have Copilot from Microsoft, and I could put a paper in there, right? And it can make it, it can make it 3,000 words, and I can turn it in. Yeah, like
Because none of us have ever done that.
Right, no.
Right? No,
well, I haven't, right? Because I have my degrees before this thing existed.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've definitely never done it either,
Yeah,
just so that you guys know.
That's right. So what I would do now is like that same methodology for what do I say to a peer?
Yeah.
Because, and I say peer, right? It's not exactly a friend.
Right, right.
It could be somebody that's just reaching out because you've identified yourself as an expert at podcasts, right? So, like,
yeah.
I mean, come on, own it.
Sure.
So you're like, oh, how did you set it up? And what was your first episode like? And like, what equipment do I need? And,
Yeah.
So you might be able to answer that right off the top of your nugget, right? But now you can go, hey, bot, I am setting up a podcast for a friend. Here's what I used. And then they'll be like, that's great. But now that you have a budget and you can get the following things. And here's a good subject to start with and all those things. So anyways, if nothing else, it's a leap that you don't have to take. And you let the AI take it for you.
Okay.
And that's the way I'm looking at it right now. And we're building a safe program for the moral injury part because we don't want to make things worse.
Right.
By thinking that we're helping someone, right? So
right.
when it comes to the suicidal ideations, again, I said in the very beginning, we're using the right numbers. We have the network built with the Moral Compass Federation, with the health initiative there, which we can talk about in another podcast. But they have the people to connect if I don't know who to connect them to, right? And if 988 isn't the right answer, can't always get them to call, right? Right. So we're taking some steps. So I'll drop this name in the first episode. But Brian Sims from Project Rebirth. We are an affiliate for Project Rebirth, and they're a warrior. They're a warrior foundation down in Florida that is part of rehabilitation. So they have the resources to help somebody immediately that is in a crisis. And Brian's usually my go-to for something that's out of my element. And he's helping us make sure that we don't add to the problem by believing in an AI solution that is giving us a solution based on what we told it, right?
Yeah, right.
So that's an important piece. Is like, it can't read your mind. You have to tell it, right, what you're thinking, and all the context. And that is a super sensitive area. Yes. So you could write all the things you know, but not all the things that need to be known. Right. So that's why we're involving the human certified counselors to help us in that situation. But again, it's going to be that 3 to 4 way chat, right? Yep. So right. So like whenever people come and they need help, they're not just talking to the bot and they're not just talking to a person, they're talking to both at the same time. That is the goal. Nice. Yeah. That is the goal. Right. Which, may sound scary to some people, but I mean, like you said, humans don't know everything. Like, especially between the two of us, I mean, you and I have totally different shared experiences. I mean, even just like we said, not using ChatGPT to write papers, different school experiences. So those are definitely good things to consider whenever it comes to dealing with people, especially people with crises, because I mean, they are the only ones that are living through that in that moment, right? Yeah, so. Every crisis is different, and every crisis is its own level of threat to the person. Yeah. Well, hi Gucci. Welcome back, Gucci. Oh man, it's like he makes me think of those times like whenever you walk like up a bunch of stairs and you're trying to hold your breath so the person behind you doesn't think that you're completely out of shape. Yep. Gucci don't care. Cough it up, baby. All right, so I think we're coming to the end of this episode where we're going to start wrapping some things up. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Or it's kind of funny because we started with Gucci wheezing. We did it now. And here's the end. Yes. Yeah, I think, initial resources for what UT2 is about are, they're on the internet at aces8s.org. Or at heartofanace.org. And so there's links to both of those programs in there. And then and you can get like essentially the pitch deck, right? That's in there. But I just wanted to make sure like that this program is it was designed and built by veterans, for military veterans, for first responders, and for those crisis volunteers.
Yeah.
And anyone in that community, you know, because there's plenty of others that volunteer at homeless shelters and you know, the Red Stripers, like
Sure.
they all have similar issues with fear, shame, and guilt and anxiety.
Yeah.
So that's what I want folks to know is we are here to help, and we want folks to plug in. The more experts we have in the network, the better the result, and we believe that there will be less suicidal ideation, less effects from moral injury, and then, you know, if something traumatic happens and you're going through that, like, you have a network there that can assist you in finding the resources or being your resource.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, pumped.
Yes. Super excited. So with that, you know, if you guys have any sort of topics you want us to talk about, where can they contact us? If they, other than commenting on Facebook posts or messaging us in our Facebook inboxes, where else can they contact us?
Well, we do have a group on Facebook. So that's one way. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and sorry, Gooch. Yeah, and what else are we on? We're on Twitter too, but I'm not really on there.
Oh, you mean X? I don't even think I have an
I got a lot of
anymore.
crazies on there.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So that's probably the easiest way. My email is public. It's aces@heartofanace.org. And right now, we are working on kind of like an instant chat program. We're working with a couple of other companies that do health initiatives for that. But yeah, so 2 good ways to get a hold of us.
Yep. So message us there. If you need anything, do you want to throw out what we're talking about next week, or do you want to keep that a secret until we, you know, drop this? How do you want to run this?
I mean, I just retired, so I think it's a good time. I just retired in September.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
So
I
he's freshly retired.
Yeah. And I think that there's value in talking about my transition.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
kind of how I leveraged, what is the term? Makes sense in Spanish. I don't know.
Where's Esther when we need her?
Yeah,
Translate
right.
Spanish. Esther, if you're listening.
I think I retired earlier than than everyone expected.
I know I did. I did not expect you to just...
Yeah, but that's because I guess the coals were hot. I don't know what the right proverb is for that.
Yeah.
And it was a good time, family-wise. 24 years is a long time.
That is a long time.
But the situation I was in professionally, it was the right time.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for folks to hear that story. So if they're feeling that, and there's pressure to stay in, and there's pressure to continue to serve and continue to give yourself to a bigger purpose, you can still do that, right?
Yeah.
And be retired or be separated. So there's discussions to be had there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, that would be a great topic for us to talk about. I know that's a situation that Brandon and I are in right now. You know, he submitted for the CISO board for here at the guard CISO board,
right.
And you know, unfortunately, he didn't get picked up for that. So, you know, the guard people needed to make sure that their people remained employed. Was the story.
Limited numbers.
Yes, limited numbers. So we're not giving up, but there are lots of different avenues that he's looking at. One of them being getting out of active duty and potentially accepting a traditional spot and working remote somewhere, because he does have his degree in cybersecurity, and you know, he's looking at a few things. So I know for us at least it would be super beneficial. You know, hearing that side of everything. So
yeah, there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Yeah. So that's what you guys can expect from us next week. Also, if you guys want to be a guest, if you have an idea that you want to talk about, by all means, message me and or Nacho. We're both in the Facebook group. You'll see it once we post this. You'll be able to see where to contact us both, and we're more than happy to talk about the things that you guys need, because that's what we're here for. We're here for the people. We're here for you guys, with whatever you need. Yeah. So any other last remarks? I think Fridays is what we're looking at posting these. So
yeah, makes sense.
Catch us every Friday, and if that changes, we will be sure to update you guys. So
yeah, no, some of the things I think that are in future future sessions is like just talking about deployments.
Yep.
Like real talk,
Yeah.
war stories. There I was. Just stuff that we didn't talk about. Now that JSTARS has sunset,
Yeah.
I think those stories need to get told.
I agree.
And there's a lot, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot.
There is a lot, that we need to talk about. So lots of tackling things like mental health, finances, challenges for both newer and more experienced airmen. Any sort of family dynamics. Those sort of things are topics that you guys can come to expect from us, and
And other guests.
Yes, other guests.
Not gonna
like
be
I said,
me every time and Gucci whining and wheezing. So
yeah. We'll bring plenty of people in. Yes, he wants to go next.
He's ready.
He is. Well, all right, guys. I think that wraps it up for us today in this episode 1 of 1 for the Undaunted Team of Teams podcast. Thank you guys for listening so much, and we'll see you next time.